Hello and welcome back. Today we are taking a look at the Star Wars Black Series Revenge of the Sith San Diego Comic-Con 2-pack from Hasbro. So this was the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive for the Star Wars Black Series. Limited quantities were released on Hasbro Pulse at the beginning of the week, and I was so incredibly fortunate enough to actually be able to grab one of these. I couldn't be happier. This looks fantastic and I am so excited to get this open. So for those who aren't aware, this is the 2-pack. It comes with Obi-Wan and Anakin dueling as we saw them at the end of Revenge of the Sith on Mustafar. They come with some display stands and everything, and some extra accessories which aren't common for Star Wars Black Series figures. I think this was about 115 on Hasbro Pulse. It obviously wasn't exclusive to Pulse, and I do believe that it is unfortunately sold out now. However, Obi-Wan and Anakin are being released as individual figures later this year. I think maybe Novemberish time, touch wood, give or take. So if you missed out on this, or you're only after the figures, you are in luck and you will be able to get those later this year. It hasn't been confirmed what accessories, if any, they will have from this set, but you will certainly be able to get the new figures, which I know a lot of people were after. So this is the box itself. It comes in a little slide slipcase, which has got an embossed image of the duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan. I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but you can certainly see the glossy black of the embossed image, along with Star Wars Black Series. Star Wars Black Series on top. One side is completely blank. The back just has Star Wars and some of our legal bits. It's noted that it's from Revenge of the Sith. Underneath has our barcode. On the other side we have a brief bio of Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi. On the lava planet Mustafar at the end of the Clone Wars, Anakin and Skywalker and his now Sith Lord Dark well, there's a typing error. Sith Lord Dark Vader faced his former master Obi-Wan Kenobi in a momentous duel that would shape the future of the galaxy. It's also listed in some of the other languages there. But that's the slipcase. We can slowly slide this off to reveal the fantastic looking 2-pack within. So immediately you can see that Obi-Wan and Anakin have been posed in a duel to the death on the floating lava collection platforms. You don't know how well it's showing up on camera, but the background is also coloured and designed as Mustafar, with the accessories stuck in the corner there. The box is taped together. There's nothing new on the other back. So the only difference is literally that window box packaging that we can now see the figures within. So without any further ado, let's get a knife and get this opened up. So was anyone else fortunate enough to get this, or did you unfortunately miss out? I don't have premium. I just waited for the extra hour for this to go up, and I was fortunate enough to actually secure one when it went live for general public. But I do know this one, more than any of the other San Diego figures, sold out very, very quickly. The X-Men one was available for a while afterwards. I think there was like a Beyblade one which was available for a while. That might even still be available. There was G.I. Joe stuff as well, which was left available for a while. This just seems to have been the most popular one for this year's Comic-Con. Understandably so. This really is a spectacular looking centerpiece. So at the base we get some of our legal mumbo jumbo, and we get some instructions here. So it's just telling us how to plug the base onto those lava displays, and I think it comes with some foot pegs which can be used on the base as well, and it shows how we can put together the lava within. So pulling this out immediately, you can see that this has been displayed for maximum visual appeal. The plastic trays appear they might be stuck down, so we can remove them without damaging the insert of the box, which is done as that Mustafar lava planet with everything erupting around the two figures. Everything's clipped in with those annoying plastic cable ties, which we get clipped out. We can see that we get a bunch of accessories for all of our figures, some alternate hands, alternate heads, alternate saber parts. Let me get my clippers and we will get this open. So with a little work, you can get everything clipped out safely and remove the plastic packaging from the back, so you can keep that backdrop if you want to use it as part of your display. There is even a small slit in here which keeps the stand, so if you have it posed you don't have to worry about it bringing it too far forward. I'm just going to pack this away, clear some space, and then we will take a look at everything within. And here we have everything out of the packaging. Let's put these to one side for a minute, and let's initially take a look at the accessories. So you get you get 6 alternate lightsaber blades, so you can have them sort of swishing in movement or whatever. These are done in actually quite a nice plastic, quite a thick plastic, and you can see they are toned throughout, so they start nice and clear at the top and then become down darker where the blade actually is. You get 3 different sizes of those depending on how you want the swing. You get a force effect, force pushing palm push hands, which I believe are just on small pegs and will Anakin has some of those elastic bands holding things in place. It's just there we go. So if you do want to change the hands, they are literally on little ball joint pegs. They are different from the Marvel Legend ones, where these are a ball joint peg in the arm rather than the peg being on the hand. But they are simple to change over if you so desire. We get a small little effects piece designed to represent the 2 blades clashing. And then we also get alternate head sculpts for both figures. So we get a sort of more neutral face for Anakin, and it's a good likeness. I certainly do like the look of it. You can get the scar nicely detailed. There is plenty of detailing on that sculpt there. That's the standard one, certainly more of an angry face, where he's become Darth Vader. That's certainly more neutral, more Anakin-like. I definitely like the differences in the two. There's some darker shading on this one, which adds to the look. Sorry, I don't know how well this is showing up on camera. Then we also get an alternate head for Obi-Wan. Again, it's a decent likeness of the character. It's sort of a stoic face. Some nice molded detail for the beard and hair. And for comparison, that's the face, the standard face on the body, which again is a little there is some slight differences. This one's a little more concerned. Obviously we've got the ruffles and the hair. They're both good likenesses and certainly reflect the character in various points of the film. So I'm just going to put these back in there. And then there's also some foot pegs to plug into the various ports to allow for posing, and you can put the excess ones underneath here as well, which is a nice touch, so we can do that now. These foot pegs are a simple touch that Hasbro do, but I think they're always so fantastic. It would have been very easy to have the foot pegs molded in various places and just sort of force your figure to stand there, but the fact that you can remove these and hide them away really adds to ensuring that this is a dynamic looking piece. I just plug along the bottom here and are tucked and hidden away for future use should you so need them. There's two left over, which will presumably go in various places depending on how you pose your figure, so we have taken that into consideration there. Let's look at our figures individually. So we have Anakin. I'm just going to remove his lightsaber for a minute. So we have Anakin as he appeared at the end of the film. And it's a nice looking figure. I really like the black robes. They're done in a rubbery plastic, so they give a different tone and feel to the rest of the figure. It's a different feeling rubber to the other robes underneath, so it really does give some different texture and feel to the look and feel of the character. There's some really nice paint apps throughout on the robes as well, along with plenty of molded detail, including the belt. We've seen that he comes with either a gripping hand or a force push hand, and then a gripping hand for the lightsaber. And there's some really, really nice paint apps along here and throughout. There's plenty of molded detail on the trousers and the boots, with some tones of brown and red up at the top, bringing out some real nice highlights on the figure. Obi-Wan is equally well done. Again, we can remove his lightsaber. The robes are, he hasn't got as many layers as Anakin. Well, actually he has, technically. They're just in the same sort of colour scheme, but they do look great. You can see some paint apps here along with molded detail throughout on the colours on the folds of the robes. Again, you can swap out for that force push hand if you want. This one's a little more stuck, there we go. It just comes off that ball joint, and you can swap it over should you so desire. I really like that force pushing head. I think that's a really nice touch. We can see the belt with some nice molded detail and paint apps along it. Some browns on the trousers, and then a reddy brown colour for the boots. It's got a slight scuff mark on there, which is a bit of a shame, but it's not the end of the world and certainly won't be noticed once it's on display. Again, I really like those head sculpts on both the figures. As for articulation, I believe the articulation is the same for both, but the heads are on ball joints. They're on the standard ball joints, so you can pop off and exchange the heads over if you want. The arms are on butterfly joints, which allow for some forward and back movement and posability. Then they're on that standard ball and hinge, so you get standard movements there. Bend at the elbow, it's the only single bend, and there is a twist at the elbow rather than at the bicep. You can get some posing there, and then the arm or the hands on that ball joint and allows for movement. And you can see the arm is individually sculpted into, or at least part of it is, into the robes. Body is on a ball joint rocker and is hidden with the belt, so you can get some really nice posability without it looking weird. Legs are on those standard ball joints, which allow that far back, that far forward, out. There is no calf cut. There is a boot swivel, which I wasn't expecting. There is a knee swivel as well. And there is a hinge at the knee, and a hinge and swivel at the foot. And I believe Anakin is the exact same. So you can see he's got the butterfly clips, same exact articulation. I think they are separate molds for each of the body parts. Are separate molds. They are completely different molds. The trousers are different and layered differently. The robes are layered differently. Even these parts of the robes are completely different with different layering to them. So Hasbro have gone all out in the fact that they've given us two completely different figures here. It would have been very easy for Hasbro to have maybe reused the mold for both figures and just given us different head sculpts or colouring, or something to that effect. We get the lightsabers for both of them, and they are really nicely detailed. You can, as long as you're very, very careful, remove the blade from the lightsaber and they just plug in there. You can then swap them out for the other ones we saw earlier if you want. Just be careful because these bits have a tendency to snap. If you don't want them holding the lightsabers active, they can actually have little pegs on the belt to plug the lightsabers in. So you've got plenty of posing options with both figures here. Obi-Wan's lightsaber, and his is the exact same as Anakin's, so it unplugs and will fit into his belt if you wanted them to. Then we have obviously the display base, which is the main part of this set. This is the main hover platform. There is some really great molded detail throughout. You can see all the sort of the metal works and the molded detail. The dried slag on top of the hover platform, and there is some toning here to give the effect of it being cooled in different places. There's some really nice airbrushing effects throughout. giving some various toning, and it even makes it look to a certain extent that there's heat rising up from underneath this. We get the grills here. Again, there is toning throughout with sort of browning, burnt ends on the outer edges and more of a iron coloured steel closer to the middle. On all of it, you can see there is so much molded detail on all of this. It is absolutely fantastic. It's all fully textured with plenty of molded detail. We get some really nice silver paint separating the various segments. See all of that, and underneath has again got that airbrushed finish of the sort of burnt colouring throughout, which isn't quite as thick on the ends. It's, you know, more noticeable in the middle. So Hasbro have gone to a real lot of effort to give some real detailing on this. It looks absolutely fantastic. It's stunning. It really, really is. The camera really isn't doing this the justice that seeing and holding it in person does. There's the added part machinery, which I believe just plugs in at the side here. You can see that the peg holes are molded to a certain way, so they will only peg in one direction. You can take them out again if you need to, but they are firm fitting. And once they're in, it's sturdy enough that there isn't a concern that you're going to snap it or it's going to bend and warp. So you have that. Then we have the hover droid, and again loads and loads of paint apps throughout on this with that airbrushed effect from the burning of the hot molten lava, the touches of the steel or the iron or whatever it is where it hasn't quite been caught by the molten slag or the molten lava. Plenty of molded detail throughout. Some various weathering, some more slag residue laying on top of the droid. And there's a couple of pegs there for the foot pegs. Pointed there. So you can just plug those in and pull those out as and when you need them. Then we have the bases, which are done as molten lava. It's done in such a way that it looks like the molten lava is surging and rising and falling in waves and everything that you would expect. It's done in a translucent plastic which is dyed multiple colors. And I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but it's dyed a red, fading into oranges and then even yellows towards the top. And this is various touches throughout, with the red being different tones as well at different places. So like it's a red here, but over here it's more of an orangey colour. The dyes look fantastic. I really can't speak highly enough of what Hasbro have gone and done here. So you can see that they've given a solid base and then molded the rest of this plastic around it, which is obviously going to give it the firmness and ability to stay in its elected position. So this is the main piece for the platform, and then we also have this piece which is dyed in the exact same way with some really wonderful fading and various colouring throughout. It's gorgeous, really, really is. This piece is for the droid, I believe. So the droid will come and sit on here somehow. So what? No, needs to go into the middle one. Will fit like that, or So you can get him posed in a couple of different positions should you need it. This will if you want, both parts of the base will lock together. So this rounded end will fit into the space here at this end of the base. And we essentially just slide and lock over each other, or in there. I mean, it doesn't lock properly, but it's firm enough that once it's stable, it's not pulling away. But obviously, if you lift it up, it's coming apart. It's that sort of locking mechanism, if that makes sense. But it's locked well. We can bring in and plug in the base if we want, which will plug in like so. You can see how the lava looks now underneath without coming up. If you want, I don't know if this will fit any other way. Not really. This is designed to, you can sort of pose it in other positions if you wanted, but it is essentially designed to fit onto the stand in one particular way. Then this piece will come and lock in here, and you can have the droid there if you want. You just got to line up that peg with the peg on there. You can see how the arm sort of dips into the lava as it did in the film, and then we can bring in and pose our figures as we want. So let's give Obi-Wan his lightsaber. So I think initially, let's see if we can get him in a double-handed pose. There we go. So you might just need to twist the blade, the saber around depending how you want it posed, because of that peg for sheathing it. Come on, where is it not? There it is. That's sort of the best. There we go, so you can get him posed, give him a foot peg so we can know where he's standing. Let's have him stood like that. Make sure that's plugged in nice and secure like. And we can bring in Anakin, and he can be holding his saber. So that's a little better. Let's see if we can get him the force push as well. So there I've got him stood without even the pegs. Obviously you can use the peg if you want. Let's see, using that, where'd it go? There it is. So the effects piece has ridges on either side to connect these. So you can have them clashing should you wish, depending how you want to display them. So you can get plenty of displaying out of the figures. There is plenty of opportunities for various posing and movement on the figures. You can have them stood together on the one base that's big enough for both of them, or you can have one of them stood on the other droid. This overall is an amazing set. I cannot speak highly enough of it. Price wise, it's obviously coming in at quite a high price point at 115, which, given that it was a Comic-Con exclusive, I feels reasonable. These, with all of their accessories, are essentially deluxe figures, so they would hit the 30 to £35 price point each. So that's sort of 60 to 70 quid for the two figures. You then have the two really big display pieces and the lava, which would cost you somewhere between, which is, you know, 40 to £50 is what the excess is on the budget of this. And maybe it's a little bit higher than you would normally pay for what is essentially just a display base. However, this has obviously been done in smaller quantities than a standard store or standard release, so you are having that added cost involved there. But I feel the 115 price point is a reasonable price point. It's on the higher end, and I think anything more you would have certainly felt like you're overpaying. But otherwise, as it stands, I think it's a reasonable price point to pay. Playing about with it, you can get that lava posed in different places if you want to really bring out the display options here. But there we have it. I think if you manage to secure this, you are going to be very happy with it. If you missed out, then don't worry too much. The two figures individually, which are obviously the main appeal of this, are going to be available shortly. The display pieces are fantastic. They are definitely worth that added cost, but personally, I wouldn't be looking to pay aftermarket prices on this at all, especially given the fact that these figures will be available individually in the next few months. But there we have it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, stay safe. May the Force be with you. And please remember that freedom is a right, not a privilege.